Snautra aure mazda Hashem vahu vahishte masti ushtaste Ushtahamai yatashai vahishtai Hashem Baname ahura mazda. To think a good thought, to speak a good word, to do a good deed is righteousness. Happiness comes to those who live with the consciousness of righteousness. And with that sentiment, ladies and gentlemen, this is Meher Amal Saad and welcome to BaHumata, a program designed to build oneness with the consciousness of righteousness in humanity. The goal is not to grow the plant but to plant the seed for each one of us to blossom with our own love, light, grace, joy, and peace. So sit back, relax, and get ready for this very special journey to enlightenment. And as you do, please join me in giving a warm Zartushti welcome to our very own Zartushti neuroscientist from United Kingdom, Dr. Karishma Koka.
Thank you, my dear Baba Meher. Welcome all. Hama Zor, Hama Ashobad. That together in righteousness and the strength of spirituality. BaHumata is a program designed to share with each other the messages of Asho Zarathustra. We would like each person to share their own stream of consciousness and their experience with the prayers at the end of the session after our main speakers have spoken and specific questions have been answered. The principles of BaHumata I will explain to you, and then I will request our senior Mabed of the day to do a short Hambandagi.
Mabed Sahib.
Mabed Sahib, Kaiwan, Turel, in a moment. The principles of BaHumata, which means with good thoughts, is to conserve and to share the knowledge, the prayers, the principles, and the practice of the Zarathushti Daina with everyone, so that we can honor our priests and our knowledgeable elders who give us this information, the knowledge and the appreciation of Asho Zarathustra's messages. We also aim to build a bridge of communication between the elders and the youth to grow empowerment with knowledge and leadership for the good of all. So that with good thoughts, we grow this fellowship for world peace, happiness, and prosperity of all. My gratitude to my grandfather, Ervad Noshirvan Pestanji Pantaki, and great-grandfather, Ervat Pestanji Noshirvanji Pantaki, our guiding light, Mabed Meheraban Firuzgari, our guiding friend, the late Ravan Shad Mabed Soli P. Dastur, my mentor and facilitator, Mr. Meher Amal Saad, for support to Mr. Noshir Dadrawala, and for support technology, the recordings on Zoroastrians.net, to Mr. Yazdi Tantra, for inspiration to Mr. Rohinton Munshi, and gratitude to all associations around the world, including the ZTFE for helping me grow, including Mr. Debu, Dalal, our Mabed Sahibs Bhada, Madan, Unwala, Writer, Bedwar, and Bajifdar, and for encouragement to Mabed Ervat Patel and the family of Dr. Munshi and all Ashavans. With that, I will stop sharing now and request our senior Mabed Sahib, Kaiwan Turel, to do a short Hambandagi. And then I will continue to introduce our speakers to you.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who've dialed in for this session. A big thank you to Papa Mayor for inviting me to speak. And it is my privilege to start with this Hambandagi. So if I may please ask you to join me, maybe just praying 2 short Yatha Varyos and 1 Ashemvo. Yatha hu Vairyo Atharatush Ashadachit Hacha Vangeush Tasda Maningo Shothenanam Angyush Masdai Shotrem Chai, Aurai, Aim, Dare Gopyo, Dadat Vastarem, Yatha Ahu Vairyo, Atharatu Shacharachi Dhacha, Vangeosh Dasda Maningo, Shotinanam, Angyosh Mazdai, Shotrem Cha, Aurai, Aim, Dare Gopyo, Dadat Vastarem, Ashem Vahu, Vaistem Asti, Usta Asti, Usta Ammai, Yadashai, Vahistai, Ashem. Thank you.
We are very grateful, respected Mohammed Sahib Kaiwan Turel. In our previous session, which is available as a recording on Zoroastrians.net, courtesy Mr. Yazdi Tantra, we had wonderful speakers help us understand the Vairyo and related prayers. And today, we will have with us 4 speakers and a very special mother-daughter duo, one of our youngest Mobbeds, Ervad Varzavand Dadachanji, and of course, Ervad Kaiwan Turel speaking to us. We're very grateful to all those who help us share the message of Asho Zarathustra, including Parsi Khabar, Zoroastrians.net, Parsi Times, Parsi Junction, Worldwide Zoroastrians, and others, so that the messages of Asho Zarathustra can be transmitted across generations as they were intended. We also have, in addition to our core team, whom you can see on this slide, our young fellowship ambassadors spread around the world who help us share these messages. We give you most gratitude for all that you do. Today's topic is understanding the nature of nature in order to build a culture of humanity in line with the Yatha Vairyo, the Ahunava, and related prayers. We will first have Ervad Kaiwan Turel, then Ervad Varzavand Dadachanji, and then the combination of Sanaya Master and Farida Master, a very special mother-daughter duo. And I'm very grateful to Meher Amal Saji, my dear Baba Meher, for putting our speakers from 4 different countries together each month using the same Zoom link supported by SD Tantra, so that the flow of the thought as Asho Zarathustra guided, we have a concept from the prayer, the BaHumata. We understand a few words, a few lines from the prayer to start us off thinking about this as shared by our speakers, Hukta. And then we come to the speaker's own interpretation as they have implemented it, the Varshta. We will then have questions related to what the speakers have said from the audience, our participants. You're not the audience, you're our participants. And after that, we will take Bahumana sharing from our audience, for which please put up your digital hand so our Yazdi Tantra can find you and help you unmute. And in this time, for up to 2 minutes, please feel free to share with us your experiences with Agyaris, your Mobbed Sahibs, your spiritual experiences with the prayers, and in any way how you are inspired by the culture, the spirit of the Zartushti Daina, especially the prayers. With that, we will now take our first introduction prepared by our Baba Meher to our Ervad Sahib Kaiwan Turel. Kaiwan Turel is a very special speaker, a professional, and a Mobbed Sahib. It is with immense pride and joy that I'm introducing to you a person who, in addition to his professional life as a banker, provides exemplary Mobbedi service for a close-knit Zartushti community in Hong Kong. This community is valiantly preserving our traditions, our customs with utmost pride and dedication. Now, Ervad Sahib has completed his Navar and Martab from Surat, having studied his prayers at the very prestigious Dadar Athornan Madrasa, whose current principal is our most respected Ervad Dr. Ramyar Karanjia. He has completed this training at the madrasa and then completed his Navar and Martab from Surat. He's instrumental in keeping the spark of Zarathustra Sahib alive in the heart and the spirit of his family, his society, and the community, by virtue of his selfless dedication, with steadfast regularity of his priestly duties for the Hong Kong Zarathustri community. Thank you. As a practicing priest, he performs various religious ceremonies to meet religious and spiritual needs of the Hong Kong Zarathustri community with pride and dedication. He's also involved in performing jashans for Jamshedi Navroz and the Zoroastrian New Year. As a role model of fatherly encouragement, he has set a classic example for his two sons, Ushan and Fravash, to emulate, get inspired, and then complete their Navar and Martab rituals with fervent commitment. We give you deep gratitude for this. And as a family, they take pride in their priestly duties by participating actively in jashans, other prayer ceremonies, both at home and at the Zoroastrian house in Hong Kong. Now, in the corporate sector, Ervad Kaiwan Turel heads the payment advisory function within HSBC's global liquidity and cash management business for Asia Pacific. His key responsibilities being to provide innovative solutions addressing HSBC's corporate and institutional customer cash management needs. In his spare time, don't know where he gets that from, but in his spare time, Ervad Kaiwan plays and coaches rugby to the youth teams at the Sandy Bay Rugby Club in Hong Kong. His personal interests also include reading on business, environment, and technology. By the way, our very own and respected Neville Shroff has said, and he is the president of the Hong Kong Zarathustri Trust Funds, he says, Ervad Kaiwan Turel has been a dedicated member of the Hong Kong Zoroastrian Anjuman. He has always been ready to lend a helping hand in communal affairs. He has been exceptionally supportive in religious events and prayers, despite being very busy in his work schedule and other commitments. The president of the Hong Kong Zarathustri Trust Funds continues to say, and I quote, "We are delighted that he and his wife Meru have encouraged their two sons, Ushan and Fravash, to also become ordained into our priesthood and become Ervads. And we are very proud to say that they too have been assisting and helping in jashans and other religious activities." Finally, Ervad Kaiwan is an integral and important member of the Hong Kong Zoroastrian community, and we would like to thank him for his unwavering participation in religious matters. Unquote. We thank Neville Shroff for his kind note of appreciation, and with that note of gratitude, may I request our most respected Ervad Kaiwan Turel to give his presentation to us, to help us understand Asho Zarathustra's messages.
Thank you, Karishma. And that is, that's a very, very, very nice introduction that you've actually given, very complimentary. So thank you. I'll try and keep this within the time that's allotted to me. But there's quite a lot I would actually like to say over here. Understanding nature of nature, personally for me, it means to be in touch with your surroundings, not just the physical, but also all the inhabitants at it. When I was doing research, actually my son and I, Vishwan, when we were doing research to prepare for this, we found this on the World Bank website. It says, and I quote, "Zoroastrianism sees the physical world as a natural matrix of 7 creations in which life and growth are interdependent. For harmony and perfection needs to be the final goal." So as humans, we have been given the gift of life. And if I were to take what was just written at the World Bank website, it is our responsibility to make the most of it, not just for ourselves, but to share it with others. And when I mean others, I mean all the inhabitants on this planet. And as a result, my interpretation of what this means, or building a culture of humanity, means to spread 3 key virtues: respect, wealth, and kindness. Firstly, respect. And what does that mean? The Oxford Dictionary defines it as a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something elicited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. Now, it's Oxford Dictionary, so obviously it has to be true. But we certainly respect people after seeing the benefit they bring to us. But as Zoroastrians, I believe we should be held to a higher standard. The World Bank expects us to. Everyone does. We should respect everyone and everything regardless of their actions. From people who help us, the Dasturjis who pray in the Agyari wishing peace and good health to everyone, or even Mother Nature, the plants and animals, including the lakes and seas that nourish us. Our prayers actually honor them through Bamma Namashaspan or Ava Advisit Banu and the Ava Maya. We must respect the people around us, especially those who are less fortunate. Them not be wealthy does not mean they are not worthy of our respect. If at all, it's the other way around. And that brings me to my next point, which is around wealth. It's very easy to be possessed by wealth, and it is important to sustain. But being obsessed by it means money dictates your life, which is not good. If you disperse it around you, creating happiness in others, that's where you see true wealth. Dispersing it to those who are not as fortunate as you, you will see more good fortune in yourself. It's a well-known fact that beyond a certain point, our material possessions mean nothing. Should you not be willing to share those gifts in the end? At the end, the greatest wealth that you can possess, and I firmly believe this, are the smiling faces you have around you. For wealth, at the end, is only a sense of well-being that is all the more enhanced through the participation of many. In fact, in Yatha Vairyo, there is great prominence that is given to the service of the poor. If you look at the transliteration of the last line, Aurai Aim Dare Gopio Darad Vastarem, the Lord Ahura, whom we have established as a divine aspect, basically expects Zoroastrians to care and cater for the needy dependents. This means nurture those who do not have everything made for themselves. One famous example in our community would be philanthropic Tata family. Zoroastrians are known all over the world for a few things, right? Their eccentricity, their joy of Lagannu Bonu, but most of all, their generosity for the betterment of the society. We know Tata families as a beacon of philanthropy, but actually, there's one thing that the Zoroastrians are known is wherever they are, whichever place they call home, they look at bettering the society where they belong to, not just for themselves. Mahatma Gandhi once spoke, and I quote, "I am proud of my country, India, for having produced a splendid Zoroastrian stock. In numbers beneath contempt, but in charity and philanthropy, perhaps unequaled, certainly unsurpassed." Finally comes kindness. Kindness is an act of concern without praise or recognition. This means to serve unconditionally, a past theme of BaHumata itself. We must do our best to serve others as well as ourselves. Share your knowledge, your art with others, and the world will be a better place for you to live in. As Prophet Zarathustra said, one good deed is worth 1,000 prayers. Doing good to others is not a duty, it is a joy, for it increases not only your own health and happiness, but that, my friends, is also how we build a culture of humanity. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much, our most respected Ervat Kaiwan Turel. I'd like to give our audience just a moment to reflect on those three most important words in silence, to imbibe them. Thank you very much. Thank you to our audience for being here to share this moment of, it's a profound message given so beautifully. Thank you. Our next speaker is a very young speaker and has an exam tomorrow, a final exam, and he's still dedicating his time in the true spirit that we have all seen his wonderful and most respected grandfather do over decades and decades of his life. Our next speaker is Ervad Varzavand Dadachanji, the son of Ervad Hormuzd and Nawaz Dadachanji, and the grandson of the legendary Ervad Sahib Asfandiar Dadachanji and Dhanmai Dadachanji, and Ervad Parvez and Bapsi Bajan. Naman to all of them. Ervad Varzavand is a resident boarder at the Dada Rathornan Madrasa, a very prestigious institution in Bombay. Currently, he's pursuing his academics from the DPYA school in Dadar, the Dadar Parsi Youth Assembly High School. And studying in Standard 9, he completes his pre-primary from the New Activity School in Mumbai and then moved to the Dadar Rathornan Institute, the madrasa, from Standard 6 onwards, where he completed his bhantar and was ordained as a priest in 2019. First his Navar in May 2019, and then his Martab in November. That would have taken a very big chunk of his dedication and that of his family to support that, and his teachers. And in the Dada Rathornan Madrasa, we have Bantar teachers and other teachers. So it's a whole team effort together with his own dedication. We give you our respect for that, Ervad Sahib. He is dedicated towards his Bantar studies and ensures that he never misses his class. He has performed the Navar ceremony of his friend and colleague, Ervad Hormuzd Fatakian, and also performed the wedding along with his grandfather, Ervad Asfandiarji Dadachanji. He has participated in various competitions held by Parsi Irani organizations and his school and won prizes in Shahnameh, Bantar, elocution, singing, art, and crafts. Varzavand Sahib wants to pursue his Bantar and post his graduation would like to perform the higher liturgical ceremonies like the Nirang Din someday in his hometown in Navsari, and may I add, in other places of the world as well, I hope. He wants to serve the community and become a role model who can guide his fellow Zoroastrians on the righteous path. But he is also fun-loving and cares for nature and animals and has a very special place in his heart for his pet, a dog whom he has named Ruksh, which is also the name of Rustam's horse from Iranian history. He also aspires to be a football goalkeeper and is passionate about cricket and running. Respect, sweat, he says, is his motto in life, which means no gain without pain. You need to practice a lot in order to succeed or achieve your goal. Thank you for that inspirational message, Dadachanji Sahib. Over to you for your message for today.
Good afternoon, dear friends. The religion of Zarathustra recognizes Ahura Mazda, the Lord Omniscient, as the sole creator and absolute ruler of the universe. Ahura is the Lord of life and Mazda, all-knowing omniscient. Ahura Mazda is the creator of the spiritual and material world and all creations and creatures therein. He has fixed the laws of nature and all creations are working according to these laws. He is the most beneficent spirit and he is the spirit even among the spirits. By his thought face, he first filled heavenly realms with light. He is full of light, luster, and glory, and the blazing sun, the highest light visible to us, is regarded as the most beautiful emblem of the Ahura Mazda. The red blazing fire is the sun or representative of Ahura Mazda. Ahura Mazda is undescribable. He is observing and watching over all creations with his sharp, piercing gaze. He is most mindful of the plans, thought, words, and deeds which have been and which shall be wrought by men in this life. Ahura Mazda is the sole decider and is the supreme judge of the actions done by man in this worldly life. Ahura Mazda has created holy, immortal spiritual beings, and they are generally known as Ameshas Penta, the holy immortals, and Yazata, the worshipful beings. Yazata is the general term for spiritual, and chief among them are Ameshas Pentas, with Aura Mazda as their head. Amesha's pentas are seven in number, and Aura Mazda is their father and preceptor. The Amesha's pentas are working in the universe with one and accord and united action. The Amesha's pentas preside over spiritual powers, virtues, and qualities, and also over material creations. Yazada is the general term for the worshipful spiritual beings created by Aura Mazda. They are spiritually working in the universe as co-workers of the Amesha's Pentas, and they are presiding over the spiritual and material creations. There are Yazatas presiding over the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, and the creations of the earth. When we recite prayers standing before these creations of our Mazda, we offer prayers to the Yazatas presiding over these creations, and through them we send our prayers to our Mazda. The days and months of the Zoroastrian calendar are presided over the Yazatas and named after the presiding Yazatas. Zoroastrianism recognizes the mental spiritual world, Mania, mental spiritual, and also the material physical world. Gaithya, living, Astavat, bodily physical. As the Avastha word indicates, the mental spiritual world is that about which we can think only and which we cannot see with our physical eyes and which we cannot touch or feel by our bodily organs. The material physical world is that in which we live, which we can see with our physical eyes and which we can touch and feel with our bodily organs. The Zoroastrian ethics, virtues, and laws of purity are all indicated by one word, Asharata, the divine cosmic law of God. The technical Avastha term is interpreted by popular and familiar words. Humata, Hukta, Huvarashta. Good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. The Avastha term Asha connotes all virtues of life: truth, honesty, purity, piety, devotion, industry, duty, liberty, godness, and benevolence. Zoroastrianism teaches us that our life in this world is a blessing. It is also a duty and a struggle. It is a blessing because God has given us the wonderful body with spiritual, mental, and spiritual powers. He has created all wonderful creations of nature which maintain our life and without which we cannot live. Merciful God so contributed that we can get anything from nature that we require for maintaining our life, provided the work for the same. Every moment we receive for maintaining our life, we receive blessings of God in one way or the other. Rays of the sun, rains from the sky, plants and trees growing from the earth, and many other visible and invisible currents of nature are all blessings of God. Thus, the Zoroastrian religion advocates from nature to nature's God. Evo pantau yo ashahe, vispe anyesham apantanam. There is only one way. This is of righteousness. All other paths are of no part. Thank you.
We give you our immense gratitude for taking out time from your very, very busy schedule. We all know what it's like a day before final exams. And we wish you the very best of Dada Raura Mazda's blessings for your exams, knowing that you will excel.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, or shall I say speakers, are a mother-daughter duo. We know how important family is in the Zarathushtri Daina. It's an entrepreneurial endeavor in its own right, with its own guidelines. And this is the first time in the history of BaHumata where we are featuring a magnificent combination to promote intergenerational dialogue. We all know we have the oral tradition through which we learn even before we learn to read and write. We learn from our mother's womb itself. Since mothers always come first, with deep admiration, I would like to introduce to you our featured BaHumata speaker, the mother of human spirit transformer from New Zealand, who has lived an admirable life with a pristine commitment towards investing in our future generation. Indeed, we have 3 generations. We have Farida auntie, we have her daughter Sanaya, and in the background somewhere we have Farida auntie's granddaughter Spenta. And if we are very good as an audience, we might catch a glimpse of her. Farida Master has mastered the art of bridging families, communities, and societies through her incredible gift of writing as a passionate and compassionate journalist. From door knocking to persuade young Zoroastrians to join the newly set up Bandra Parsi Youth Association founded by Farida Master with other go-getting founder members, to giving the Zoroastrian Youth Association of Pune an energizing shot in the arm to be revived to its original glory, and more currently, taking on the role of a newly appointed trustee of the Zoroastrian Community Trust of New Zealand. Farida Master enjoys bringing communities together and ensuring that they thrive. Her passion as a community builder extends to her role as a journalist for more than 35 years in India and in New Zealand. As the former editor of the once upon a time glitziest Bollywood magazine Stardust, Farida reached out to the stars and built relationships of trust in the tinsel world. Marriage then saw her move to Pune and take on the challenge of editing the Pune City magazine, Citadel, where she not only mentored club reporters, photographers, stylists, but also built communities of trust. The goodwill built by her followed her in the hot seat as the editor of the Pune Times, that she turned around with her inimitable style. The move to New Zealand in 2004 proved to be a turning point in her life, as the serendipitous moment got her a job as the featured editor of The Aucklander from the stable of APN Media. Farida was then instrumental in the launch of Botany and Ormiston Times, a community newspaper very close to her heart that supports local communities and gives locals the platform to tell their stories. Finally, in her quest to serve communities, Farida Master is a committed Rotarian and was the former president of the Rotary Club of Somerville, a humanitarian service organization that takes action to bring about everlasting change regionally, nationally, and internationally. In all her years as a journalist, it has been the resilience of human spirit that has always fascinated Farida. And it has been the raison d'être, her taking on the exciting challenge of authoring the incredible Giordano Gifford biography, An Uncensored Life. The launch of this biography at Times Fest opened up new vistas with book readings in India, New Zealand, and the United States of America. Farida is currently co-authoring another book with Giordano Gifford, the founder of the Asha Center in the United Kingdom, which has been a transformatory experience. Thank you very much, Farida, for sharing your gift of enlightenment to brighten the spirit of humanity. And with that bright endeavor, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving Farida Master a warm Zarthashti welcome. And before we hear her speak, we've got to introduce her daughter, Sanaya Master. So firstly, Farida auntie, thank you for giving us Sanaya. And Sanaya, thank you for giving us Spenta. And thank you to the daddies too, of course. And now comes his sweet daughter, as Baba Meher has written. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pride and joy to introduce our BaHumata featured youth speaker from New Zealand and Canada, who has devoted and dedicated her life towards inspiring our global Zartushti youth. Sanaya Master is presently serving as the co-chair of the Fezana Unity and Welfare Committee. She was also the co-chair of the marketing committee of the 2015 6th World Zoroastrian Youth Congress in Auckland, New Zealand. Now, the World Congress is a very special place of nurturing the youth and performing what's called the intergenerational, transgenerational transfer of knowledge, something Baba Meher has been instrumental in encouraging, instrumental in starting and carrying on. Anyway, back to Sanaya now. It was organized with the goal of providing a memorable religious and social experience for our young global Zoroastrian attendees, while serving to make them ecologically conscious about the value of environmental preservation outlined in Ashok Zarathustra's philosophy. Guess what? Zarbanu Gifford was invited to be the special featured guest note speaker for this Congress to inspire and educate young Zoroastrians coming in from different parts of the globe. In the heart of pastoral Gloucestershire, England, which is where Zarbanu is, and through the kind courtesy she has extended, through the Transformational Asha Center, which played host and facilitator of the first World Zoroastrian Youth Leader Forum, it has united 20 Zoroastrian youth leaders from a myriad of backgrounds, views, and most contentious issues facing the vibrant and diminishing worldwide community were able to be discussed with a vision, mission, and action plan to tackle them. The timely and purposeful Zoroastrian coming together of the next generation of leaders would not have been possible without the devotion, dedication, and leadership of Sanaya Master. Bravo to you, Sanaya. Sanaya has also served as the featured speaker of the 2019 7th World Zoroastrian Youth Congress in Los Angeles, California. She has also been a speaker at various Zoroastrian events, including the Jamshed K. Pavri Seminar in Vancouver, Canada. In addition to all this, Sanaya has also guest edited the Fazana Journal twice. And in August 2019, she attended the 68th United Nations Civil Society Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah. She was also selected to be the panelist and moderator of the 64th United Nations Commission on the Status of Women conference in March 2020, which is starting on March the 15th this year and will extend to the end of March. Sanaya is also an avid supporter of the Zoroastrian Return to Roots program, which does a phenomenal program every year. And in October 2019, Sanaya was invited to be the featured speaker on empowering future leaders at the 3rd annual seminar hosted by the Zoroastrian Society of British Columbia, titled Zartushti Roots, Ancient and Modern. In addition to all this, she also dedicates her life to her family. She's married to Kairas Irani, who's an active member of the Zoroastrian community, and they're now proud parents to Spenta baby, who will be all of 1-year-old in April. With that joyful sentiment, may I welcome mother and daughter for their dialogue of intergenerational sharing with all of us around the world. Over to you both. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. That was a lovely, warm welcome. And both Mom and I are very, very happy to be here today. So today we're actually going to be sharing our own personal perspectives on this beautiful topic. And I am going to be focusing more on how the outer environment affects our environment within us, and Mom will be talking about how your inner light affects the environment outward. So I would love to start off with a personal experience with you all. In 2017 and 18, I was very lucky to be able to actually volunteer at the Asha Center, a youth leader center located in the Forest of Dean, Gloucestershire, that is founded by the wonderful Zarbanu Gifford, who I'm sure you all know of. So for those of you who have not had the chance to actually visit the center, imagine walking into a garden of 5,000 old English roses, and that is just part one of this most enchanting landscape. The second you step into the Asha Center, you are instantly enveloped in love, beauty, and good energy. All the facades of the modern world disappear and you feel pure bliss. So while I was at the Yasha Center, along with Zurbanu Gifford, I actually organized the first World Zoroastrian Youth Leaders Forum, where young people came from all around the world to connect, discuss, and collaborate on the most important issues facing our religion. And the young leaders left feeling rejuvenated and revived. And one of the big reasons why the forum was a success was, of course, the location. Being surrounded by nature, we were able to have a fully immersive experience and access our higher intelligence to come up with creative solutions that were inspired by the Amesh suspenders. So the Asha landscape is actually inspired by the ancient gardens of Persia. The Persians believed that by cultivating the land, you were also cultivating and beautifying your inner life. Because the beauty outward would be reflected as the beauty inward. What I have found personally is that when we immerse ourselves in nature, we are reconnected, we are recentered, we are reminded of our true essence. When we return to nature, we are able to better self-reflect, observe inspiration, foster strong bonds, and discover a deeper sense of purpose. The prayer Yatha Ahu Vairyo prescribes that our actions are always in harmony with good thinking and the truth. And we are very much reminded of this when we immerse ourselves in nature. How lucky are we that we belong to a religion that really advocates for the importance of religion from such an early age. Zarathustra was known as the first true environmentalist, and if all of mankind had just followed his teachings that he set out so many millennia ago, we would not be in the mess that we are in now. I want to share a little anecdote on serendipity. So soon after Mayor Uncle's phone call, when he first proposed the idea of doing a session on the power of nature and its influence on us, I picked up a book that I was reading called The Daily Om, and I opened up a chapter randomly. And I would love to share with you all the extract that I read at that moment, which was truly amazing. Okay, so here goes. There is a sacredness in wild places, and we can be transformed simply by being there. Beyond human beings, we are nature beings, created from the same source as animals, plants, and even rocks. The earth calls for us to connect so that we can feel balanced and whole, a part of the universe. We are humbled by the magnitude of a mountain range and delight by the colors of a rainbow. At the same time, we experience a oneness with the natural world, which encourages us to appreciate and respect all of life. The more that we become one with nature, the more it offers us. In the wilderness, we transcend time and space. We are renewed. So enjoy the bliss of connecting to the natural world. So that was truly amazing, and I had to share that. And, I just wanted to end off with, over the past 1,000 years, especially after the Industrial Revolution started, humans started becoming, we're actually all equal to nature. We are part of nature, and we are very much equal to all the other beings on Earth. And unfortunately, though, we now consider ourselves superior, and we're constantly manipulating and changing and extracting and really taking advantage of the natural world, when in reality, we all need to be in harmony in order for this ecosystem to really progress and evolve. And I feel that now with our current generation and the awareness, and I feel like we are slowly moving towards that. And in fact, in New Zealand, there is now a river called the Wanganui River that actually has the same rights as a human being. And it is the first water body in the whole entire world that actually has the same rights as a human being. And so hopefully that is a sign of progress, that, that we soon are able to appreciate and respect all forms of nature and all forms of beings as equal to us. So with that, I would like to pass the mic to my dear mother, who will talk about her perspective.
Thanks, Sanaya. So I'm going to take it directly from there about the interconnectedness and starting from within. So all of us are looking for peace and tranquility. And even if you book yourself in the most expensive resort or spa, if you're not at peace with yourself, if you're at conflict or unease, you'll never ever enjoy the experience. But fortunately for us, our prophet Zarathustra gave us the secret of life, the secret of living, the secret of giving. And he taught us about Ashoi. He taught us about all our prayers speak of service, of kindness, of serving the community, spreading happiness. And that is what essentially gives us the inner glow that lights the spark within each one of us. And that is what gives us the inner peace. Whilst we are so privileged, as Edward Turel already mentioned, that there are so many towering, exemplary people in our community and role models. Everywhere you look, it is so inspirational that they live by the tenets of our religion and are so benevolent and charitable. It is little acts of kindness, little acts of service that we also learn from people around us. So for me, I'm going to share a personal experience. This is more a personal journey. I watched my grandfather. He was a cub master. He was a scout master, talking to the cubs, helping them to build their character with lots of stories that were lined with moral code in Zoroastrianism about good thoughts, good words, good deeds. I remember that even though he had a paralytic stroke later on in life, he would walk miles just to go and spend time with the children to help them build up their character. Similarly, I watched my mother dedicate her life for service to the neighborhood and to all family and friends, people she knew or she didn't know. I remember that even the smallest thing, if somebody, her name was Franny, my mom, bless her soul, she's no more, but I remember growing up as a child, anyone just had to mention something to her, like they needed something. And before they could complete the sentence, she was off doing things for them. And as a child, sometimes I resented saying that, Mom, why do you have to do this for everyone else? You're not there at home when I'm coming home back from school. But now I realize the value of service. I realized that that is what also gave her a lot of happiness, because it is in giving that we receive. As we all know, it's often people talk about service, but the amount that the person gets while doing the service cannot really be put into words. Years later, I remember going from New Zealand. Unfortunately, my mom had a stroke, and I was taking her to the ophthalmologist in Pune, a wonderful ophthalmologist who had very good bedside manners with all the seniors and always spoke with lots of love and compassion. And I remember him sitting on, going down on his knees next to my mother's wheelchair and telling her, Auntie, please tell me, how can I serve you better? Can I send you a car to pick you up and bring you to the clinic? Can I come to your home to check your eyes after the cataract surgery? And I was a bit embarrassed because he's quite a high-flying, internationally known doctor. And I was telling him that, no, we'll manage. And he said, please give me this opportunity to serve. And the sincerity with which he said it has stayed with me many, many years later, the opportunity to serve. And at that close up right now, what we're talking about, I just want to take a minute to also acknowledge all the work that Mayor is doing, and Karishma and Yazdi Tantra and everyone in Faizana and all these organizations that put in countless number of hours, lots of coordination, lots of getting people together. And the upside of it is also that you're educating people, you're bringing the whole community together from all over the world and giving them a chance to self-reflect, like myself. I mean, we get so tied up in the rough and tumble of life, we never really sit back and think. It was only when Mayor and I had a conversation and I was saying, I'm not a scholar on the religion to talk about it. And he said, just talk about your own life. You don't, have to talk about the religion, but how you connect with the religion. That is what, coming back to the good deeds that we do, we get 1,000 more in return. Also, our scientific religion tells us that essentially we are energy. And when you do good things, you have good vibrations. You vibrate at a different frequency. And when you vibrate at a different frequency, you have a beautiful aura. You become a magnetic personality. People are drawn towards you. So all that goes with the meaning of Yatha, Vairyo, which our Edward Turel already explained about. Blessings of the good mind will come to those who help the poor and serve their fellow human beings. I often find out of my personal experience that when I'm depleted of energy, I sometimes sit in my garden and watch the flowers and the birds and connect with them. Some people might think I'm crazy, but at times I feel that I actually ask them for energy. I ask that, can you give me this energy? I'm really worn out. And I find it always works. Lots of times I drive to the beach. My office is next to the beach. I drive to the beach just to feel the calmness and the serenity of the waters and wash over me and look at the bigger picture about the ebb and flow of life, knowing that everything will pass and it'll be high tide again. So apart from that, I'm also a part of a meditation group, and I do believe that each one of us is a beacon of light. We give light when we meditate. We give light to the earth. We give light to the community. We give light to the war-worn countries, but what's happening in the war in the world now. So it's about lighting that inner spark and connecting. I do believe that what we do, or personally, what I'm talking about me, what I do is, whether it's with Rotary or with other acts of kindness, it's a tiny drop in the ocean. It's just a tiny drop. But as they say, for a parched land, even the tiniest raindrop counts. And I guess together, it makes a huge difference. However, coming to my daughter and her generation, I do believe that they are the true eco-warriors. I do believe, unfortunately, our generation didn't pay that much attention to the environment or to recycling, to conserving all our natural resources. But when I watch my daughter and I watch my son-in-law, Kairas, who is a fanatic about recycling, not only his stuff, but even tells his friends, if you have to recycle something, give it to me. And he drives to the recycling station and does that. And though I make fun of him sometimes, I do realize that they are the true eco warriors working with Aura Mazda to create a more sustainable world. And I do believe that the world is in safe hands with the new generation. So thank you for that.
Simply splendid. Thank you, both of you, for your shares. I have to say, in our home, it's actually my mummy, who's also co-founder of BaHumata, but she's absolutely pedantic about everything green. Every celebration in our family, in the true Zartushti spirit, has always been marked by planting a tree. Gifts to people on their weddings or Navjots have often been, almost always been, a sapling or a plant.
Wonderful.
And indeed today, yesterday, I think, is the day in the Zoroastrian Iranian tradition of tree planting. And if we still have Behram with us, I'm sure we could request him to explain a little bit more. It's not just the day for tree planting in the Iranian Zartushti tradition. Dr. Behram Pastakia, if he's with us still. Thank you, Mummy. It's also the first day of the recycling week, as I understand it, in the current trend in Iran. So if anybody would like to share with us in any way their own experiences, their own thoughts, please let us just finish with the specific questions to our speakers, which you can also raise your hand and ask yourself. And then we will take the Vahuman sharing section. So thank you both, Farida and Sanaya, for your splendid shares. It is important at this time, while we start thinking about putting things in the chat box, that we reflect upon what Asho Zarathustra guided in the Ahunavad Gatha at the very beginning. The words are here, the meaning is here, and it's in Mummy's voice that we'll hear this as we reflect upon all our four speakers and the message of Asho Zarathustra.
Ayasa Nimanga Ushtano Zastura Pedraya Manius Mazal Pori Spentayao Ashal Vispen Shona Wangiush Kratum Manango Ya Snevishage Uscha Urvane Ayayasa Nemanga Aya.
So with that, what we'll do is now start taking the questions. Please start raising your own digital hand so you can ask your question in person. Until we start populating the chat box, there are already wonderful messages of appreciation from Jale, Banu, Dr. Meher Master Moose, wishing everyone Navroz, Mubarak, Maruk, Dr. Mazda, Turel, thank you for being with us from your very busy schedule. Ervat Kaiwan, Nazneen, Katie. If there are no specific questions for our speakers, shall we start with the sharing section? Would anyone like to share anything at all? Until they come up with something, what I would like to do is ask our Ervat Kaiwan Turel a very specific question related to his profession, so that in today's world of green economy, the circular economy, we could ask you from your experience, how do we put ecology, economy, people, planet, and progress together from your thinking, so that prosperity, as in the true essence of Frasho Keriti, can be achieved?
That's a very good question, Karishma. I would say it's actually $1 trillion question, right? Because that's principally what everyone's now trying to talk as part of the ESG agenda. How do we have sustainable growth? There is no easy answer. Okay, but personally, in my view, it's a culmination of a number of things. First up is respect. Second is the same three themes that I spoke about, right? Respect, wealth, and kindness. It's there. When I say respect, I mean, let's respect nature. We do not respect nature enough. We take it for granted.
You know.
We do not be kind enough to think of the other person. If you were to just be a little less selfish, little less about ourselves, give up a little of wealth just to make sure that it is sustainable, you are already on a much easier path towards achieving that. There are certain answers that are easy, but they are not simple. Or it could be the other way around. There's simple answers, but not easy to implement. But if we start doing, each one of us, a little that we need to do, think actively, how can I be more sustainable? What do I do in my day that can I make it a little more ecological, right? You start driving those. The organizations will be looking at some of those solutions as well, right? So it just boils down to those three main facets that I spoke about, right? Let's think about others. Let's respect others, including the environment, a lot more than what we do today. And let's be a lot more kinder to the people around, a little more giving to make this a better place.
Thank you very much, Ervat Saib Turel. We have a comment from Dolly Dastur, who says, Auntie Dolly, would you like to reflect upon what you heard yourself in your own words? If you do, please let us know. Digital hand? No? Okay, I'll do it. Farida and Sanaya gave us a lot to think about and reflect on the concept of service. Thank you very much. I'd like to put a question, as Mami and I discussed while we were hearing Sanaya talk. We have the Youth Congress coming up next year. There's a lot of work that goes into preparing for a Youth Congress on the part of families, from parents to children. And since we have both of you here today, what does it take as a family to put effort into a Youth Congress? Sanaya, shall I ask you first? And you can coordinate with Auntie Farida.
I guess for me, I've always worked very closely with Mummy for all my projects, and I'm always bouncing ideas off, we're both bouncing ideas off each other and discussing and collaborating, and I guess the same way Mum learned from her mother about service before self, I am also learning from her about service before self. And I think that passing that on, and obviously she has always been very, very involved with all community work right from when I can remember. And even when I was in Pune, when we lived in Pune, I remember her being very, very involved with the Zoroastrian association there, and they'd even organized the Youth Congress in Pune at the time. And I was very young, but I do remember, Mom being very enthusiastic and, sharing all her ideas and putting in her own money to do certain things. And I guess I took that on without even realizing it. And so when I was around the age of 18 or whatever, I automatically started participating in community events and volunteering, and it's never stopped. And so we together, now that I'm much older, we're able to collaborate and discuss and share, and it also helps our own creative process as well. It's good to be creating things in the world, and especially if it's of service, then it is in line with what our religion talks about and advocates. So that's my perspective.
Splendid. Farida auntie, when you spoke about your mummy Freni, the thought came to my mind that it just sounded like my mum. So I think all mums are roughly say the same things, and they try and pass on these things to
All
it was
mums don't.
well, it was wonderful hearing about Auntie Freni. Tell us something about Pune. And then we'll pass on to Dr. Mehram Pastakiat for his question and comment. In Pune and in New Zealand, two very different ethos. What was similar in working in the two different places? What was different? And Sanaya, if you want to come in and tell us intergenerationally, what is different and similar in the different parts of the world? You've got experience from Canada, World Congresses. Just help us reflect.
I guess initially I got involved with the Pune Zoroastrian Youth Association, because mainly it was kind of dying. What was happening is that there were just one or two very enthusiastic youth who were giving everything they could, but at the same time, after a while, they were just exhausted. And and at that time, I was editing the local city magazine, and I did have a lot of goodwill and good connections. And I thought, let me use those connections to revive the youth association, and first starting with my own service. And so though I didn't really belong to that age group, I just went along to support somebody who I knew was putting in the real hard yards. And she was at the point of collapsing. Like, she said, I can't do this anymore. And I just wanted to hold her hand and say, you can, we will make it work. And so it gradually, of course, with the Poonawala's help and ABC Farms and the whole Pune network, we managed to pump in a lot of funds. We managed to have, I remember we had a youth camp, and I called up Baman Irani from Mumbai and said, can you come and just talk to the kids? And Shamak Dawa's group, people come and train. And it's only because I was in that field and I could use those connections for the community that it was wonderful to see it all blossom and revive, and everybody taking a lot of interest in it. So strangely enough, the same thing happened with the ZCT over here. It's been a dream. It's been an absolute dream of some trustees with a vision to build a Dabemere and a community hall in New Zealand. And as you know, these things take years to happen. And I've seen people who give themselves up for service to the community after a while. They need the support. They need the backing. And whilst I was in Vancouver with Sanaya, I realized that a lot of the people, the trustees, 4 of them were resigning. And I thought the organization might collapse and let me do something. So actually that was the similarity. So I put my hand up and I said, yes, I will help. So basically, I think the dynamics are the same everywhere. We need more people to look at the bigger picture, more people to give themselves to service and to realize the rewards of service, because nobody really has the time in today's world. It's about making the time, like, as you all know, everybody over here is involved in service, so I don't have to say that, but that's just passing on the message, passing on the torch. And that's
Thank you very much, Auntie. And what you also said about our Padma Bhushan, Dr. Cyrus Poonawala, and his corporate social responsibility activity before corporate social responsibility became the in thing. This started many decades ago.
Yes.
enables other people to contribute. The work he has done with in his wife's name and the
Pioneering work.
foundation, pioneering work, to help other people contribute and to take an organization forward. So it's not just his contribution to COVID, etc., the COVID times, and being ready in the moment
He has made
to
many
respond.
vaccines.
Yes, all the vaccine work is, of course, incredible. With
Absolutely.
that, may I invite Dr. Behram Pastakia and then Auntie Dolly Dastur after that to contribute. Behram, please go ahead.
Thank you for this wonderful morning for me here. It's been a very nice pleasure to listen to these pourings out from the heart. A special thanks to Sanaya from Vancouver, who was on our United Nations team in Salt Lake City. And she did not mention that she was also the rapporteur for the whole program, which was submitted to the United Nations. It was just a little pleasure working with her. And I do remember Zarbanu Gifford and Farida coming to Washington, D.C. to celebrate the autobiography.
Yes.
So this is a wonderful get together again. The other two speakers today, I was really inspired by the young man from Dadar Parsi, from the Athornan institution. He spoke beautifully. And I don't know Edward Turel, but I hope we come together sometime. Given that as a background, I wanted to touch on what Karishma said in the beginning, to look back at our ancient Iranian Zoroastrian traditions and see what can be learned from those as we live our day-to-day lives. Now, I did not know these customs till I came to the United States, because we Parsis have forgotten many beautiful traditions from the Iranian Zoroastrian heritage. And one of them was the concept of Ruz-e-Darakt Kari. So in Farsi, the adjective comes afterwards. So the day ruse of the trees, taking care of the trees, comes sometime before Jamshedi Nowroz. And this is a time to take care of the garden and the trees and the plants. And we are pushing that idea. And lo and behold, 21st of March is now the International Day of Forests. And I wanted to take this opportunity to remind all of us on this call that 21st of March has also been designated by the United Nations as an intangible heritage of humanity. So this gives us a beautiful opportunity to connect with our neighbors, to come together and celebrate. So about 5-6 years ago, we started doing Jamshedi Nowroz celebrations by making some sweets at home. Or if you don't know how to make sweets, you can get them from Roshan or someone else and give them to your neighbors. And it makes a beautiful connection with neighbors. And what happened? From that, lots of beautiful things have developed. There is a thing called the Cobalt Plant Library, where because of the color of the sky and the color of the ocean of cobalt, you just make a library of plants outside your home, and people can just come and take a plant and take it for their home, or flowers. And you come and give back to that place. The whole concept of community is built up. I won't take much longer except to say that we can plant trees on our own wherever we live. The local situations are different everywhere, and each one of us can empower ourselves to plant a pollinator garden, to look at the concept of not having lawns, but having food gardens where we live. That will change the whole concept of sustainability. So if anyone wants to work on this and needs thoughts and advice, I want to give a plug to the winter issue of the Fezana Journal, which was edited by Afrid Mystery and Natasha Dango from Houston. And there are lots of beautiful ideas there. Do connect with us and we'll be happy to take this forward. So thank you for the time, and thank you for this beautiful session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pastakia, for those ideas. Auntie Dolly Dastur next, please.
Where is she?
1 minute. Auntie cannot unmute. She's struggling. I'm trying to get her to unmute. I think I'll leave it to Yazdi Sahib. Give us a moment, Dolly Auntie.
Yeah, I unmuted myself. Yeah, okay.
Lovely. Super.
I just want to reiterate what Behram has said, and I want to thank Sanaya and Farida to some extent. I had the opportunity and the good fortune of working with Sanaya for a long time on the Faizana Journal. And I can't imagine how responsive, how diligent, how efficient she is in producing things, And if all my youngsters were like you, it would be wonderful, Sanaya. I really, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
And Farida, at the same time, you have been also so responsive whenever I want something, information from you, New Zealand, because I don't have too much contact with New Zealand except through you. And you're always there to help. And you give me so much information that I am blown away. And so thank you very much, both of you, for being a mother and daughter team to help us in everything which we do. Without you, without Sanaya, I don't know what I would do.
We have
Thank you
great
so much,
admiration
Dahlia.
for the work you do. Really,
Absolutely,
truly inspirational.
Absolutely. The only woman who will always respond, no matter what time in the day or night or anything. So you are the one who inspire us to really, continue contributing as well, because it is people like you that truly blow us away. So thank you so much, Dolly Auntie, for all that you do.
That's service. The service with a smile,
Absolutely.
I will second that absolutely. True spirit of the Aarya Maishya Prayer Yasnaha 54 tells us to come together so that we can do good work and earn a good mind. With that, may I hand over, before I hand over to Mabadyar Sahib Manik Bhujwala, I would like to thank Mabad Sahib, Dasturji Sahib, Zarir Bhandara for his guidance to do a Hambandagi at the end, a collective prayer where we all participate with our thoughts for peace, for the current situation. Thank you for that guidance, which we will of course respect. After that, we will have our standard closing Hambandagi from Ervat Sahib Kaiwan Turel as well. Now may we have Mabadyar Manik Bhujwala, please. Thank you, Yazdi.
Yes, thank you for the very nice session you had, especially encouraging young people in our community. What I am thinking is, in our Yatha Vairyo prayer, as Mabed Sahibs just recently mentioned, one of the key things is that, we have to help those people who are in need. And now, the prayers are there to remind us, of what we have to do. And the thing doesn't end with the prayer. So currently, the current invasion of Ukraine by Russia has produced more than 1 million refugees, that add to the other millions that are already in the world. So what are we, going to do, or what can we contribute? In what different ways can we do to help those people who are in need? That's my question to the speakers.
Any particular speaker you would like to address?
No, and anyone can answer that.
In which case, I would like to respectfully ask our speakers if one of them would like to respond to you. And if they just put their hands up, we will hand over to them. Yes, Auntie Farida, if you'd like to take that question, and then we'll hand over to Ervat Sahib Kaiwan Turel.
Honestly, it's the same question that I've been also thinking about. But I think it's something that we need to collaborate on. I'm sure that there is something that we can do, apart from sending funds. On the New Zealand radio recently, just yesterday, I heard them saying that people are just doing little small things like booking Airbnbs in Ukraine so that the money goes to the people over there. And obviously they're not going to go there for a holiday, but the people who own Airbnbs are giving free stays to people in need over there. And this is just your way of supporting them. So like just really small things. But I think collectively we can get together and work on something together. I think it needs some kind of brainstorming for that. But thank you for bringing up that question.
Very well said, Auntie Farida. And the Gathas are replete with messages from Asho Zarathustra on actionable ways to help in every circumstance. Indeed, his messages are to improve society in every way, taking us from less peaceful to more peaceful, less progressive to even more progressive. There's so many messages. Ervat Sahib, Kaiwan, Turel, please enlighten us further.
No, I would just echo what Farida so eloquently said, right? We have to be that one is, yes, you contribute financially and you do it innovatively. The Airbnb is a good example. But what we've also seen, what I've seen is, and through friends of mine, saying that people in Europe, you know, Ukrainians who are in the UK and Western Europe, they are now going back home to support, but not necessarily to fight, but to carry supplies, right? Things like clothes and blankets and woolens. It's still spring and winter there, so they still, you know, so all those people are displaced, carry food supplies. So if there are ways, those are other ways in which we can do things. So there are charities that are doing that. It's about just picking and choosing the right one. Red Cross would be a good one. Not that I'm advocating it, but it's probably seems to be an internationally renowned one. But the most important thing is not to let it die, right? We need to keep in mind whether the newspapers remind us today or not. Right now it's newsworthy, it's a week long, everyone's going to talk about it. 2 weeks from now, is that going to be there or is there going to be something else? And that's the thing what we need to do. Just be aware and be mindful, has that actually ended or not? Right. And the last thing I would say, and this is extremely difficult, but what I feel is also not to get carried away by the rhetoric that the media provides. Try and be as balanced as you can in forming your opinions. You know, there is no, it's like you can't clap without two hands. So it's just trying to be a little more balanced and being there and then seeing how we can help. But it's a really unfortunate situation, and unfortunately the only people who are losing are the common people and not the politicians over here.
Very wisely said. Before we move on to Maruk Tamboli next, what I'd like to do is to take a moment here to share with you what Asho Zarathustra has actually guided. We often talk about the Yasnaha 30.2, which says, Sauta Geush Vahishta, Avaneta Suchamananga, to use our bright intellect, to listen with our ears to the best teachings, and then formulate something, each one for oneself. However, we often forget the most important Yasna 30.3, which says it is through the understanding we learn to discriminate, the very important Zarathustric concept of Vishyata. Vishyata's root word is viso, which means to learn to discriminate. We often put it out as 30.2 says we must develop our choice. It is much more than that. 30.3 gives us the answer to what Yasnaha 30.2 says, and says to be possessed with a good understanding, hudongo, in order to have eresh meaning the right path, through discrimination, vishyata. And that is what Ervat Sahib Turel has actually told us just now. Not just think and reflect, but learn to discriminate. Thank you, Ervat Turel. That is such an important message in today's world. Auntie Maruk Tamboli, please go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that being in Canada, we don't have the opportunity to cross the border, and take goods over or provide Airbnb or anything like that. But in the past, I've always found the Red Cross and the Salvation Army to be very good sources for wherever help is needed. It doesn't matter where the help is needed. So it's important to find an organization that you actually trust, where you know that the money is going to the people who actually need the money, and then send it there. And as Eric Turel has said, it's not only the Ukrainians who are suffering. There are so many people in refugee camps right now who are suffering. Let's not just focus on the media hype. let's donate to an organization which helps all the poor people and all the people in need. And so I want to put a plug in for the Red Cross. I also would like to put a plug in, since I have the podium right now, for our Erwits and our Mobbits. They sit there and they pray. Nobody gives them a penny, but they're sitting there and they're praying for the whole world. I would like to form some sort of organization to help them, not only in Canada, United States, but in India as well, so that they can acquire more knowledge. And as you said, Karishma, more knowledge plus the prayers, so then they can give it to the diverse population all over the world, so that we can learn even more about our religion. Right now, they're doing it all pro bono, not getting a penny, spending their time. Why are we not doing that for them as well? I know that this is not related to Ukraine, but I just thought, if you don't mind, I might as well say that.
On the contrary, Auntie Maruk, it is absolutely imperative. In fact, 2-3 weeks ago, I had sent out an email, which I will copy to you, with a 10-year program, so that in about 10 years, our young priests, our Ervat Sahibs, are ready to take on not just the role of being priests, but to go on to be the heads of and directors of Zoroastrian research positions, heads of department in various universities around the world. But that will take 10 years of supporting not just their education, but their families, their own education, and their mobbedy. Because to do mobbedy and to do full-time education and to have that rigor, that is absolutely, I mean, to have, in my humble opinion, actually, very briefly, to be an Ervad and a Mobbed itself is complete. It is more than a PhD. However, in order to take up the positions of heads of departments, maybe we do need to support them with the rigor of today's academic method, just for the methodology. But whatever the priests and the academics deem fit, and the seniors of our associations around the world deem fit, absolutely needs to be done. I'll send you a copy of that letter so you can take it further. With that, may I hand over to Auntie Dolly Dastur? I think Geeta also had put her hand up. If you'd like to, please come in at some point. And then I'll hand over to Ervad Zarir Bhandara for his prayer for peace. And then over to you, Ervad Kaiwan Sahib, for your Hambandagi.
I had two comments on two different things, but I got sidetracked by what you talked about, the education for the Mobbeds, you know. But I think the NAMC has started a very good thing of having seminars for young people, and the Zoroastrian Institute, where they have been training the young people, but there is not enough enthusiasm from the young to come forward, you know. I think we have to change the mindset of the parents and these young people for them to take advantage of this, you know. It's no use of setting up all these things if nobody comes forward, you know.
Correct.
So that's one story. That's one story of mine. But the other one is that I support everything how we could help the people at the present time. But I want to make a comment. It's not a suggestion, but I want to make a comment that we're getting all worked up about this particular issue. But what happened to all the Uyghurs who was traumatized? What happened to all the Yemenis, the children, and who were starving and who were I can't even use the word. They were almost killed. There is so many things happening, injustices in the world, which we don't react to that because that's so far away and they're of a different color. They're not the same color as us, you know. And so it is very, very difficult to come to grips with it in my mind. You know, how are we so upset about this and not so upset about the other side? You know? That's my comment.
And that
we have
comes
to
back
reflect,
to what
we have to reflect on that. You know.
Very, very aptly and timely reminding us to reflect upon not just what is happening now, but what has happened and the impact on the young minds, which we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, stress of social kind, stress of losing a parent, stress of being displaced, is still a war crime, is still a crime against the young minds. And as Zartoshtis, it is our responsibility to look after the Bahumana of other people. So the concept of Yasna 43.1, Ushtamaya Yamaya, Ushtakamaya Chit applies at the physical, the spiritual, the monetary, every aspect.
And the young people are growing up without any food, without any sustainable vitamins or whatever, and their whole generation is lost.
And we commend you on your work to help rehabilitate people and their minds through community activities. Those who don't know, Dr. Dolly Dastur has decades of research behind her in how communities can help people to be rehabilitated. She's also done research on therapeutics and has found incredible results for community-based rehabilitation and therapy.
The United Nations Humanitarian Relief, UNHCR, and many other organizations are also very good places to, trust them with some funding, just beside the Red Cross.
Thank you very much, Mabadyar Sahib Manik Bujwala. This morning, I'd also like to let you know that our most knowledgeable Mr. Kersi Shroff from the Washington area has contributed his mind to a local South London interfaith peace program where I was fortunate to be present. And people are getting together from all over the world to share their knowledge. And the concept of Shyotananam is actually the concept of justice with action. So we can't think of Shyotananam as right action. It goes with the concept from the Atash Nyaya, Ushmoy Uzarish Vaura, show me the light, but also Eresh or Erez is the concept of the right path, which goes with the concept of righteousness and justice. So thank you very much, Ervat Kaiwan Turel Sahib, for giving us that knowledge. Geeta, over to you, please. That's Geeta Bairampur. We can't hear you yet. Please give our Yazdi Sahib just a minute.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, how does this work? Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, really, sincerely. I am so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to learn from you. It's incredible. I never had that opportunity as an Iranian woman to be in this position. I learned so much from Parsis and incredible knowledge. We have zero knowledge in Iranians. I know that I heard somebody says, well, we should learn from Iranians. And I'm going to tell you, we don't have much to say rather than to learn from you and ask questions. And that's what I wanted to say. And I'm so grateful for all the wonderful speakers and everything that I have learned. But I have questions, as always. I just got two questions, so I'm going to put it together. But I'm going to be off the cameras because I want to read the questions. So I don't forget. That's a benefit of getting old. You forget. Oh, I don't have to remember anything, like what happened, where's my kids? So, okay, let me just go off the camera. Okay. The truth of the matter is that I'm listening to myself. I'm not listening to God. All day.
Geeta, may I stop you? Because you're getting so muffled that your question will not be audible to the speakers. So if you could just shorten your question, come closer to the mic and start again, please.
Okay, sure. Can you hear me now?
Much better. Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. So the question, what I was saying is that I always listen to myself. I don't listen to God. It's to me what Geeta wants. Geeta do, Geeta that. I don't listen to God. So my question is, why do you have to turn your ears to the word God, Ahura Mazda, so that we may not hear the word me, like thinking about God rather than thinking about me? So my question is, what is the purpose of changing the way we think, like thinking about Ahura Mazda, think about God, versus to think about the reality as it is? Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful question, Geeta. And in response to your concept of asking questions, we are actually not just empowered, but endowed with the responsibility of asking questions from the Gathas. We say, Vispata Peresa Sasharchitacha, Gamvidat, for the progress of the world in the concept of righteousness, it is our duty to ask the right questions. So with that, over to Ervat Kaiwan Turel, if he would like to Give us knowledge on this.
Sorry, I did not hear that clearly enough. Could you please
The
repeat that?
question Geeta has, if I understood her right, is how do we change our thinking so that the concept of we can listen to ourselves and reflect upon that. She also had a question about reflecting upon changing the perspective from reflecting on Ahura Mazda, but she also used the word God. So if you want to comment on Ahura Mazda, God, and the me. Is that right, Geeta? She's nodding, so we'll take that as her question.
Okay, so I'll try to answer it the best way as possible. I think if you understand what Zoroastrianism is about and what Ahura Mazda is about, it's first about taking care of yourself. You have to be at a place of peace and happiness and contentment within you first. And once you have that, then you can push it out outside, right? It's one of those religions where, and it's not that I've done extensive study, but it's one of those religions that doesn't say you sacrifice yourself without you feeling good. It's always about you coming to a place where you are happy, you are peaceful. Only then can you do good unto others. So it then says that stop just be good for yourself, but doesn't mean that you can't feel good without doing, you cannot feel good yourself before you start doing that to others. So when you are happy, you're peaceful, whether it's through prayer, and prayer is just the means of helping you reach a certain level of mindfulness. If you really look at it, what is it? It's because on a normal stage, you don't have time to think. You're going through different facets. Your mind is running 100 miles an hour. Prayer is just where you say, okay, let me just help you get your thoughts together and give you a little bit of peace when you have faith in that. I hope that kind of answers what you're looking at.
Geeta is saying yes, and she's
Okay.
saying thank you, and she has clapped for you, and we are very grateful to you for the enlightenment. Thank you. We also have, thank you so much. And I love the way you so peacefully help us reflect. We need more people like you in the economic world and the world of Mawbedi. Thank you. We also have Erwad Dasturji Sahib Zarir Bhandara, who has offered to reflect upon your question, Geeta, after which we will move into the collective prayer that he offered to give us for this very special time. Over to you, Dasturji Sahib.
Thank you very much, Karishma. And before I add more to what Kaiwan Turel talked about Geeta's question, I would like to thank BaHumata, Jaruma, Karishma, Mehram Said, Yazdi Tantra for having this platform to spread knowledge and also bringing us together. In my opinion, Geeta's question was, why not me and why Ahura Mazda? And if that is the thing, that is fine. Everybody has their own thing to choose. Now, in our own selves, we have the good and bad, Spentamenu and Angremenu. So what we choose, that is within us. The God is within us. So if you choose Pentamenu, Ahura Mazda, and then if you want to say that's me, that's fine. That is the God spirit within you that you are choosing. But in my opinion, I would give credit to Ahura Mazda. Now coming to the present situation, if we all collectively focus on peace, as our thoughts are as much what we think, as we are as much part of the universe as universe is part of us. So our thoughts, individual thoughts, have got a lot of power, and so are our words. So instead of focusing what media is portraying, if we focus on peace, and if we say it aloud, that Putin is for peace, and the peace is happening, everything is getting back to its normal state. And then we will have that kind of results. I remember where I was volunteering about 33 years ago in Ashadan in Mother Teresa's home. Once Mother Teresa was asked to participate to not for war. And she said, no, I will not participate. I will participate in peace rally. So the words that we use have got tremendous effect on everyone. And as we prayed Aryama Isho prayer together, I would request Mr. Yasdi Tantra to ask Erwat Kaiwan Turel and Erwat Dadachanji to unmute themselves so that we have three Mobbits praying together from different countries to bring about peace that we really want, and our prayers getting manifested as we want in this universe.
Zarir Sahib, may we request you and Ervat Sahib Kaiwan Turel to do this together? Karan ke our respected Ervat Sahib Varzavand Dadachanji has an exam tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
Oh, Merbani, thank you very much.
Thank you. Aryamaisho Rafedrai Zantu Nairibyasha Nairibyasha Zarathushtrai Vangehu Shrafedrai Manango Yao Dena Vairi Manad Misrem Ashenya Yasashi Nyamisha Mahuro Masata Masra Aryamaisho Rafedrai Zantu Nairibyasha Nairibyasha Zarathushtrai Vangehu Shrafedrai Manango Yao Dena Vairi Manad Misrem Ashenya Yasashi Nyamisha Mahuro Masata Masra Aryamaisho Rafedrai Zantu Nairibyasha Nairibyasha Zarathushtrai Vangehu Shrafedrai Manango Yao Dena Vairi Manad Misrem Ashenya Yasashi Nyamisha Mahuro Masata Masra Aryamaisho Rafedrai Zantu Nairibyasha Nairibyasha Zarathushtrai Vangehu Shrafedrai Manango Yao Dena Vairi Manad Misrem Ashenya Yasashi Nyamisha Mahuro Masata Masra Hashem Vahu Vaishmasi Shastri Ushamai Hat Ashai Vahishai Hashem Hashem Vahu Vaishmasi Shastri Ushamai Hat Ashai Vahishai Hashem Hashem Vahu Vaishmasi Shastri Ushamai Hat Ashai Vahishai Hashem. And now the translation. And this translation is from Dr. I.J.S. Tarapurwala, Irish Tarapurwala's gathas, actually gifted to me by Dr. Beram Pastakia a few years ago. May brotherhood of man, for which we desire. Now, this particular word desire is very important. Where our focus is our focus is on peace or something else? So our desire should be very focused, and that is peace and peace alone to bring about peace. So may brotherhood of man for which we desire come down amongst us and rejoice the hearts of men and women, bringing fulfillment unto Bahumana, love. When our souls receive the reward, I pray to Asha in his grace to grant these blessings for which human souls long, which Ahura Mazda has meant for all. Saying that, let's all focus on just peace and peace alone, that it is happening. Let's think about putting in our prayers as he's bringing about, he's signing a peaceful pact, a peaceful agreement, and then we will manifest that through our prayers, through our thoughts, through our words, and through visualizing that. Saying that, I pray to Dada Auramazda to bring about peace, and I visualize that peace is already being done. Also, I would like to thank Farida and Sanaya Master for talking about service, and I had the great fortune of meeting Farida in person when she visited Zoroastrian Association of California and California Zoroastrian Center about 3 years ago with legendary Zarbanu Gifford. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that most inspirational prayer. With that, we will now hand over to Ervat Sahib Kaiwan Turel to close today's meeting. I think one minute. I think we had a hand raised by Hustas Bamgara. 1 minute, Ervat Sahib. I think he's put it down. Mr. Hustas Bamgara, would you like to say anything before we close? No. Ervat Sahib Kaiwan Turel, please go ahead and close the meeting.
So I will end by praying the Dilno Kalmo, which is the affirmation of faith prayer. So if you could please join me again. Baname Kudao, Baname Yazare, Bakshayenge, Bakshayazkar, Mehban, Rajistiao, Jistiao, Mazdatiao, Ashoniao, Daniao, Wanguyao, Maz Yesnois, Din Beras, Vadaros, Kekodai, Barkalak, Forestade, Inhast, Kezartost, Avadehast, Din Dine Zartost, Dine Aura Mazda, Dade Zartos, Pitaman, Ashone, Ashem Vahu, Vaistemasti, Usta Asti, Usta Mai, Yadashai, Vaistai, Ashem. We have to pray this 3 times. So I'll pray for another 2, a little quicker though. Banami Yazade, Bakshayenge, Bakshayazgar Merban, Rajistiao, Chistiao, Mazdatiao, Ashoniao, Daniao, Wanguyao, Maz Yesnois, Din Beras, Vadaros, Kekodai, Barkalak, Forestade, Inhast, Kezartost, Avadehas, Din Dine Zartost, Dine Auramazda, Dade Zartost, Spitaman, Ashone, Ashim Vahu, Vaistemasti, Usta Asti, Usta Mai, Yadashai, Vaistai, Ashim, Banami Yazade, Bakshayenge, Bakshayazgar Merban, Rajistiao, Chistiao, Mazdatiao, Shonyao, Daniao, Wanguyao, Masias Nois, Din Berast, Vadaros, Kodai, Barkalak, Forestade, Inhas, Kezartos, Tavadehas, Din Dine Zartos, Dine Auramazda, Dade Zartos, Spitaman, Ashone, Ashem Vahu, Vahistem Asti, Usta Asti, Usta Mai, Yadashai, Vahistai, Ashem.
Arvat Sahib, Kaiwan, Turel, we thank you for your prayers. Dasturji Sahib, Zarir Bhandara, we thank you for your contemplation for peace in the true spirit of Asho Zarathustra, the right path, the Chisti, Chistayao, the knowledge of the Daina, Mazdadatayao, the wisdom of Asho Zarathustra and the greater wisdom. As we say, Ahura Mazda is to be followed. We will follow Zarathustra Sahib and we'll follow the great Daina within us, the consciousness within us, the conscience within us, and respect, as our Arvat Sahib Turel said today, respect other people, for in them lies the same consciousness that is within us. And that is the true spirit of BaHumata, with good thoughts to bring about a fellowship of collective consciousness throughout the world.
Actions with prayers.
Actions with prayers and prayer with action. So we thank you all for joining us today on this very, very important session of BaHumata. We give gratitude to Mr. Meher Amal Sahib for facilitating the collective action of coming together of our speakers. We thank our Yazdi Sahib for facilitating the technology. And we thank each one of you present here today from all four corners of the world. The world is round, I thought, so all the round corners of the world, for putting together this fervent consciousness as the universality of the Asho Zarathustra spirit allows us to build peace, build harmony with happiness, true Ushta. Thank you all for being here today, and my respect and gratitude to each one of you and your families. Thank you.
Tandarusti and Ushtate.
Ushtate, happiness and harmony to all with
Tandarusti.
Tandarusti means good health. And to all those who will watch this recording on Zoroastrians.net, thank you for watching this recording in the future. Have a happy week.
Thank you.